I stalk people. I'm joking aside, I do. I go out and stalk people.
It's so funny, these podcasts, because you're on the other end. Is this your first time on that end?
Excuse me? I didn't realise it was that kind of podcast.
We're going to get real deep.
We're going to get deep in me.
All right, welcome to the Fruiting Buddy Podcast with your host, Brendan. Today we have another legend of a guest. It is Jay Leshark. Okay, now Jay, he is the founder, owner, co-host of Phuket Podcast. But specifically for this podcast today, we're just going to be learning about Jay's life and actually one of my heroes. And as they say, don't meet your heroes. And this is how I started my podcast. We're going to understand how he got that all together, and we're going to dive deep into the life of Jay Leshark.
You're going to get deep in me.
We're going to get real deep. I think
I didn't realise it was that kind of podcast.
Change this to 18 plus, yeah, Hans? So for the record, I'm super hungover, so anyone watching this right now,
I'm not.
leave it in the I think he's just going to probably fuck with me a little bit during it.
No, not at all, not at all.
Okay, so, well, first off, thanks for coming, Jay.
Thank you for having me.
It's so funny, these podcasts, because you're on the other end. Is this your first time on that end?
Excuse me? Was it not like that? No, podcasting wise, yes, but I've been interviewed on radio shows before and stuff like that. So no, it's not my first time on the other side of the microphone, let's say.
But at like this type of length, like obviously like a radio show is going to be what, like 20, 30 minutes. But if we're going for 3 hours today.
If you want to go 3 hours, mate, I can handle it.
So I initially started this podcast listening to your podcast and decided it was during COVID. I was like, you know what?
You said was, yours is shit, Jay, so I can do better. That's what you thought.
I'm like, that's a great idea because there's so many interesting people on the island of Phuket. And I've had this conversation multiple times with people. If you go back to your hometown or where I'm from, a small town in Canada, how many interesting people are in that town? But in Phuket, they're a dime a dozen.
No, it's true. And I'll tell you what, the other thing that we found when we do our podcast, Jay Leshark and Friends and Russell podcast, that you think you know people here, but you don't. Once you sit down with them, talk to them, for an hour and a half, you find out so much more about them that you never knew. Because you only know people from, hanging out with them, seeing them in the same situations in Phuket, going to the same networking events, whatever. You sit down with them, all of a sudden find out, wow, you came from where? And you did what? How did you what did you do? And that's what we found really interesting when we started ours.
Why did you guys start it up? Like, where did this, how was it born, essentially?
Okay, so pre-COVID, so we've been going for 3 years. We're coming up to 150 episodes, but we've missed a bit of time during Christmas, New Year, bits and pieces. But myself and Russell, who's the co-host on my show, we were on radio together years ago back in Phuket. So we started off on 91.5 back in the day. God, long time ago. And we both really love radio. We both like entertainment. We both do MCing, bits and pieces, stuff like that. And it just got to the point, I just got divorced and I was a little bit down, a little bit depressed, a little bit kind of wanting to find something creative to become happy again. And I always loved radio, wanted to get back into radio, but radio here in Phuket, you're very limited to what you can and can't do. And you're kind of told, right, you must play this music, you must say this thing, you got to do the traffic, you got to do the weather. And look, that's cool, and I get it. But that's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to be creative. We wanted to swear. We wanted to do our own thing. We wanted to have no one telling us what we can and can't do. So we just came up with the idea of let's just go for it. Let's just try it. We recorded, we must have recorded about 6 episodes, just randomly, just trying to come up with a different idea.
Just you guys.
Just us, just me and Russ, just shooting the breeze, chewing the fat, whatever you want to say. And then we just kind of went, at one point I said, do you know what? Fuck it. Let's just do it. Let's just record it and get it out there and see what happens. And that was the first episode, and then it just grew from there. The first guest wasn't until the 3rd episode, and then that erupted into even more complications, as you'll understand, is trying to get guests is the hardest thing. And getting guests lined up at the right time, because Russell and I both have got different jobs. So to try to get everyone all together at the same time on the same day is a nightmare. And that's been the hardest thing about the podcast.
How did you start deciding like the theme of the podcast? Because it's very similar to this one as well. We're just bringing people on the island that have these interesting stories.
It just evolved. The idea was, I think, like I said, we did about 6 before, just chatting, just me and Russ, just having a little giggle, and just at one point we was going to pick up 3 different topics and was just going to talk about those topics and see what happens. But then we just went into people's journeys, you know, and as we were saying, finding out about people, how they got here, why did they come here. You know, there's different people. Years ago, people used to come here, I was on holiday and I stayed. That was everyone's old chestnut. But that's changed. You know, people are here for different reasons. Some people was on a boat and they just ended up here. Some people were, you know, wanted to come here. Some people were on holiday and stayed. Different people got different stories. So we wanted to document the stories of why people came to Phuket and then what they do here and learn more about them. And also the other thing, we wanted to meet, well, I say we, it was more so for me. I'm, as a single dad, so my 2 kids live with me. I wasn't going out very much, so I wasn't, and I knew a lot of people. I've lived on the island for a long time, so I know a lot of people, but I wasn't meeting new people. So the starting the podcast and getting guests in was another way to meet new people, you know, and people that we might not know that well, or we might have only seen around and bits and pieces. And yeah, we got them in and chatted to them, and here we are, 150 episodes later, and we're still at it.
Is there, I mean, I guess we can relate it on that end, but is there a certain point, like, when you're looking for a guest, like specifically, what are you looking for? Or do you have people that approach you and you say, I don't know if you're going to be a fit?
Ask Russell that question.
Is he kind of?
Well, no, I'm the. He laughs at me because I stalk people. I honestly, I mean, I'm joking aside, I do. I go out and stalk people. I find out, you know, if there's a new DJ or if there's a new someone or there's someone on the island that I've not heard for, but they're quite active on social media. Then I'll go and tap them up and say, hey, look, do you want to come on the show? It probably does come across a bit weird when you get this message from some dude saying, hey, do you want to come on my podcast and talk to me? But that's how we do it. Or we know people and they come on. We have had a few people ask us to be on that wanted to go out and promote stuff. But generally we're out knocking on doors and saying, do you want to come on? Do you want to chat? And we've had people say no. We've had people say yes. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, most people are pretty receptive. I mean, it's not the end of the world. They get a bit, you know, standoffish if they're like, well, what if I say something I shouldn't? And that's why Hans can cut it.
Well, you're lucky. You've got a producer. I produce it all myself.
Yeah, and you also did Lynn's book as well.
I did, yeah. That was she's an amazing lady. She's stunning. I love her. Yeah, no, we talked. I trained at Somali years and years ago when I had my first fight and my only fight, and I lost. If you know, so I'm 0-1, and I'm happy with that.
Was it against an actual opponent or?
No, I just didn't bring myself with a midget. We was just doing them on a little carnival event. No, it was a charity event, so it was a black tie Muay Thai for Phuket has been good to us. But I fought a Brazilian guy who was 10 years younger than me, had trained a lot in the past, and he absolutely destroyed me. The only thing I cared about was the entrance. So I spent more time planning my entrance. Look, I'm a big WWF wrestling fan, right? So all I did was I got a live guitarist to come in with me. He designed his own song, wrote his own song for me. I had smoke machines going on, feather boa, glasses on, and I just walked around the whole ring just doing the entrance. And that's all I cared about, was just having that big entrance, and then I got my ass kicked. Massively.
How long, like first round type of thing, or?
No, it took me till the 3rd round, and then after I was getting kicked enough, I just went, you know what, I have enough of being kicked. It really hurts. Muay Thai hurts.
Yeah, I used to be a massive I refuse to say WWE, to be honest.
It's still WWF.
It's WWF, but I mean, I used to get every pay-per-view. I remember this one always sticks with me. Hell in the Cell, Mankind versus Undertaker, top of the cage chokeslam.
It's iconic.
That after 99, I don't know, because I was probably 16 at that time. I stopped watching, but kind of that generation, that Stone Cold Steve Austin,
The Rock,
the Attitude Era, that was kind of the end, in my opinion.
I love it, and I love it even now. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I love it because I like the showmanship of it. I like the entertainment side of it. I do like the marketing side of it. For me, that wrestling, WWF, WWE, whatever, they are the best marketing company in the world. The amount of merch they sell, the amount of pay-per-views they sell, they create this. And this is what for my marketing, I look at what they do and kind of grab it. But going back to the Somali, yeah, the audio book was a tough one to do. Lynn and I spent hours sat together doing that. And I'd never produced an audio book before, but it was interesting to do it. It was fun. I'm not sure I'd want to do it again because it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
a lot of work.
I talked to Lynn, and I was going to reach out to you. I just asked her the process, and after an hour on the phone, I was like, absolutely not. I wanted to do it for the history of Phuket with Colin.
Yep, I know Colin, good guy.
But after I talked to Lynn's book's what? How many pages is it? 600?
Something like that. I can't
Something
remember.
like
It took
that.
us hours.
And Colin's has got to be like 2,000, whatever. Lynn explained it to me, and I'm like, there's no chance we can do this. Like I think we'd be in the studio for probably 100 hours recording to get that done.
Absolutely. And then it was the editing afterwards and leveling it all. And then once I did that, then you had to go and work out how to get it onto the platform. And they wanted it in certain chunks and certain, it was.
And they take a huge commission as well, apparently, no?
Yeah, I don't think, but it was, it was fun doing it. And it was lovely spending time with Lynn we went to her apartment and just sat there, just chilled out for a few times each week. And it was cool, but I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't do it again.
It's one of those things. Same with this podcast. It's once things start growing, they snowball. But if you ask me to do this, from scratch, I don't know, 2 years ago, I'd probably wouldn't do it. But it's kind of like it takes a life of its own. So jumping into the marketing side of stuff, obviously you're kind of the voice of the radio as well. We all hear you on the Phuket radio.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But what's funny here, I guess, is to digress a bit. Every time I'm in Thailand and you're trying to look for the radio, you can never remember the number. You get in the new car and it's not programmed. Anyways, that's me personally. How did you kind of like get into that marketing side and kind of generally like what you're doing in Phuket that's paying the bills essentially?
Oh, that's a really hard question. Okay, so I have a production company, which is my company, and we produce content. Now, whether that be marketing content or fun content or whatever, but when I set it up, there were so many marketing companies. Everyone's doing Facebook. Everyone does Instagram. Everyone does whatever. And they're all very good at it. And I can do that, and I can do that as well, and I can do all that sort of bits and pieces. But I thought, what do we do, or what can I do that's different from other marketing companies? And the one thing that I had that they don't have is an audio background. So I was on the radio for years and years and years, obviously doing podcasts as a DJ, producing music, producing stuff like that. And I thought, right, let's go down that path, because that then sets me aside from other people, from other marketing companies. So that's where we kind of thought we'd go for audio marketing as a push. Now, I love audio and I love audio marketing. The issue I have is trying to get other people and businesses to appreciate audio marketing and appreciate that radio still works. Podcasts still work and will work. Audio marketing is a huge thing that's just not done. And the problem is what I have to do really in Phuket is go and knock on doors and teach them that audio marketing works, which puts me in a difficult situation because they don't then realistically want to do it. They just want to go, oh no, we want Facebook, or we want this, we want this, we want this. Oh no, radio doesn't work. No one listens to radio. Oh, what's the point of podcasts? Oh, we can't hear you, And so you end up having to educate people. And so that was a bad side from my business. I have to educate people. So then I thought, well, what else can I do? Well, do my own podcast. Go and speak to other people, produce some podcasts. So that's what we started doing. We started producing podcasts. For the radio side of things, we produce radio adverts. We create radio adverts. I love doing that. That's fun.
You were creating other podcasts on the island as well?
Yeah, we do other podcasts. We've done a few. We used to do a property podcast. We did that during COVID. That was fun. We do a dog podcast. So Russell and I, who's my co-host, he runs a dog. I have to call it a luxury dog hotel. He hates it when I call it a kennels, but apparently it's a luxury dog hotel. We do what we call Barkcast, which is it's 20 minutes each week where we just talk about dogs and dog-related questions. The cool thing about that one is not only is it a podcast, it's also on the radio as well. So we got approached by the local radio, said, look, guys, we love what you're doing.
Is that one on? It's on Sunday. I've heard
Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock. Because originally we got asked by Byron, who's from 91.5, if we'd put the Leshark and Friends podcast on the radio. And I was like that. And I spoke to Russell about it. I said, look, people would listen to it, so we get more exposure, but then we can't swear. We can't say the things we say and we get away with the innuendos. None of that can happen.
So what happens if you're swearing on live radio? Like, obviously they can't bleep it. Like, does it cut out, or is there someone like...
Well, you don't swear on live radio. You just don't.
But what would happen? Like, what are the repercussions?
You just apologize. I mean, look, it's never happened to me, and when I've done my live shows on the radio, if it did, you just apologise and say, look, we're really sorry, didn't mean it. And it depends what you say. I mean, most people might say the smaller words might not happen, but if you say the big words, you'd probably get in a lot of trouble. But you just have to be careful.
going back to the podcast side now, people are reaching out to you to help them produce it, or you're kind of looking for people on that side?
Both really. At the moment, I don't have any time. I've got so many podcasts that I've got ready to go, and a lot of them are more audio documentaries. I'm a lover of audio documentaries. I've written a couple. I just haven't had time to record them and go out and get them. So I did one on veganism. I think I had half recorded one on yoga. I've got one on French fries I need to do. I've got a whole restaurant podcast that I haven't even started doing yet. So I've got all these shows that are ready to go. I just don't have any time.
Just use ChatGPT.
Well, yeah.
I've been using it so much for my article content, but it's not perfect.
I just like doing it. It's just fun. But at the moment with my other clients, so for example, this week, so we recorded a podcast on Monday. Tuesday, I'm out on a boat with 60 kids doing snorkeling and then doing beach games, picking up sea urchins, showing them stuff like that. And then Wednesday, I'm shooting more video. I'm shooting stuff. I'm doing pictures. I'm writing blogs. I'm writing stuff. And then yesterday, I was out on a boat with 250 people doing team building. And then today, I've been emceeing at a sports event. I just don't have any time. Just don't have any time to do my work, because then I get home and it's cooking dinner for the kids, reading stories to them, and by 9:30 I'm done.
Yeah, you just don't have the bandwidth to do it.
No, not at all.
How long have you been in Phuket? 10 years or
16 years?
16
years.
Yeah,
it was my anniversary last week. 16 years.
I've been here 7. I think I'm starting to get that 7-year itch. So it's hard for people to understand because we have the Maya Bays, and everyone back home will look at us and be like, "You live in paradise."
Oh, this must be so great. You live in such a beautiful
But then we
place.
kind of forget about it.
Yeah, we have work.
Do you get that feeling after 16 years, like that itch to maybe go to another destination?
Yep.
Do you think you would do it?
Yeah.
Where would it be?
I've been saying this for about 10 years. I really have. After I got divorced, I decided, that was really a bad time, and I just wanted to get out of Phuket. I stayed because my kids were here, and then they moved in with me, and so I've got them full time. Would I want to leave Phuket? Yeah. I wanted to go just during COVID. I loved COVID. COVID for me was brilliant.
I think we all did.
No one around. Traffic, no traffic, things. And for what I think you and I both do, I can be busy I was really busy during COVID.
Same, yeah.
Really busy. Got more clients, got a load of work done. I mean, it's great being a jack of all trades during COVID because I just picked up so much work. I would love to leave. Where I would go is the problem.
Yeah, I think that's always the question. And I, not to be biased, but I've been in Asia 12 years. I don't think there's a better hub than Phuket in all of Asia. I mean, maybe...
Everyone's got different opinions. The hub thing I don't disagree with you with. There's certain things in Phuket I hate. I'm frustrated. Everyone's got different lives, I remember when I said I wanted to go back to England once. Oh, the weather's shit. You want to go back there for? It's like, I don't think about the weather. That's not my reason for leaving Phuket. Is the weather? It's got nothing to do with that. I think you have to look at everything. I mean, I go back on. As a single dad with 2 kids, you don't get any support here. It cost me an awful lot of money to put my kids into international school. You don't get any benefits from having kids here. It's a tough life. And I'm not saying that I'm weak and I can't do it, but I'd have more support if I went back to my home country. Schooling's free to start with. I can go to the hospital. NHS might not be the best, but it's still free. Life here is good. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I was out in Phi Phi. I was up at the top of Koh Hong looking over the views into Phang Nga Bay. It is stunning. It is beautiful. Like I said, out on a boat yesterday. It was beautiful. Swimming with sharks a couple of weeks ago. But that's not the be-all and end-all of life. You still have to get up in the morning, get the kids ready to school, drive to school. I still have to go to work this afternoon. I still got to go into meetings and stuff. I just don't know where I'd go right now. I really don't.
Yeah, it's hard to. I was thinking Koh Samui as an option, but I always wonder at these destinations, like if you would get bored after a while. Like places like, for example, like Koh Phangan, I don't think you could live there. For me personally, I was looking up into Chiang Mai, but the smoke up there is insane. Like it's so and Bangkok is just out of the question. I'm not a city person.
So. See, I would probably go back to Europe. I think for me also going maybe somewhere English speaking as well. I'm kind of a little bit tired of not understanding everything, but understanding enough to get by. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. Right now, I am so busy with work that it's kind of just make money, save money, and let's see what happens.
Now you're working with Sean. We got our sponsor. Shout out to 5 Star Marine for sponsoring the podcast and helping us produce this as well. How did you guys kind of come together? Because you're doing a lot of content for him as well.
Yeah, Sean saw me and he fell in love with me. He asked me out on a date. I said, look, Sean, I'm not into that kind of thing. He said, I am. I said, Sean, please don't.
Yeah.
And then he forced
that's the teaser. I'm joking.
No, Sean came on the podcast, and I don't know how we got about talking to him. I think I'd been out on this must be a couple of years ago, on a 5-star boat trip with, I can't remember how it all happened. Maybe with Amy and Nando from Satai. I can't, anyway, for some reason I went out on a boat trip. And then we then invited Sean onto the show. He came onto the show. We got talking, and it was a great podcast. Really cool guy, really interesting to talk to. And then I think I did a couple of bits and pieces where he was doing, this was with the Bags for Life stuff, a couple of years ago during COVID. And I think I rocked up when they were doing their packing. Not that I ever did any packing, and was just mucking around and being a complete and utter douchebag while they were doing it and making jokes, doing live videos and stuff. And I think from that, Sean just kind of liked what I did. And he kind of reached out to me and said, look, do you want to come on board? We're really interested let's do a video. I just want to do 1 video a week. I was like, okay, no problem at all. We talked about it, ended up just doing it. And he just wanted me to go out on the boat and be me. And it was really nice because not many people want you to be you when you go, listen, I'm not exactly the easiest person in the world. I'm a bit out there. I'm stupid. I'm probably like a child. I really am. But that's what he wanted. He wanted that child mentality to really drive his YouTube videos and his business. So he said, come and do it. And we ended up started doing 1. Then he wanted me to do more and more. And now I'm doing 2 a week with him. And now he's involved in it as well. Because I always said that he's the brand. Sean is the brand. He's an amazing guy. He is the brand, and he should be in the shows as well. And all the ones that we did together during COVID, just after COVID, during the flooding, we were doing live videos. We started doing so much content with me and him, and people liked it. And it seems to have fallen in that we now do more and more and more.
What was kind of the North Star? So I watched a few of the videos as well.
You've watched them all, you mean, and you've liked and subscribed to everyone.
Every single one.
5-star Marine.
Smash the bell, you name it. But it's I watched a lot where you're kind of doing basically like a live update of what's going on in Phuket in terms of weather or the day, a little bit news. Like what was the direction or the North Star behind it all?
That started during the flooding. So during the flood updates, I love Sean to death. I don't know when he sleeps, right? And all I know that he must have WhatsApp connected to his body somewhere, because we just get messages all the time. So 3, 4 in the morning, I get a WhatsApp message. Oh, we're going to shoot this, and we're going to go and do this. I'm going to do this live update and be here. So he's really on it. So we started doing live updates during the flooding and going out during the flooding and just updating people. So if he couldn't do a live update, I'd do a live Facebook or a live YouTube or whatever, just to tell people what's going on. The viewing figures from just doing crappy little videos using our phones were just through the roof compared to, normal. I say through the roof. We're not talking millions and millions. But, there were enough in their thousands to make us go, hold on, there must be something in this. We talked about setting up our own media company, and we talked about getting some people on to do media for us, and we're going to do, and maybe that will happen in the future. But then we thought, well, if these are working, let's do a weekly news video. And so we're now on our 8th episode of doing it's the Phuket tourism news. And it's just a bit of fun. What we're trying to do is, Sean and I don't like negative news. And we see in the Phuket news, and that's not referring Phuket news, but the Phuket news generally, even, you talk about the Tiger, the Phuket news, whoever it is, it's all doom and gloom. Crash here, this happened, so-and-so's jumped off a balcony, so-and-so did this, whatever. And it's all negative. So Sean and I wanted to put a spin on it and be positive. So it's like, let's grab the positive news and talk about that. And so Sean still wants me to do weather, but for some reason he wants me to do a weather report every day, which I don't get because it's already happened. So each week I play what happened on last week's weather. But Sean says that people like that, and I think it's stupid. But anyway.
Yeah, and also, it's high season here basically, so it's sunny again.
It's the same frigging weather every day, and this is what people don't realise.
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess because we've lived here so much, sometimes we've got our blinkers on and we're so used to it, we forget that people don't live here. And they then, I wonder what it was like last week, and what was it like going to be happening this week? It's like, it's high season. It's going to be hot, and it might be a thunderstorm in the evening.
Yeah,
that's the weather for the next couple of months.
this content on the YouTube side, are you doing all the production, all the post-production yourself as well?
Oh, no. I pass that over to someone else. So
why
we
we get
have,
Hans here.
we have a Hans. We have a better looking Hans. No offense, but we have a better.
There we go. He's got no mic to
I'm in a
help
world of
himself
trouble
out.
now. We have a Hans based in the Philippines that we send it to. So our editor Carl, really cool guy, really comes up with some cool stuff. And what I like about him, he takes the piss, which I like. So he grabs anything I say and what I do, and he just, he runs with it and puts stupid voices on and stuff like that.
Perfect. Well, give me his number, nice. Hans. You're out of a job now.
But we also do. I mean, Sean makes me. I think I'm Sean's plaything, and that sounds really sexual, and I don't mean it like that. But he likes to make me uncomfortable. He likes to make me go and do stuff. I'm kind of like a toy to him. Listen, if that makes him happy, if him saying, Jay, can you go and do a video in the middle of the field when the Heroines Festival's about to start, and I'm there with these carnival guys setting up this big wheel who are scaring the shit out of me because they're all staring at me with their shirts off and all their prison tattoos, and I'm an idiot in the middle of a field recording this, and they're just evil eyes looking at me. Sean likes that. He wants me to get into trouble.
It's different content as well. Like kind of what we see as like, let's call it the Thai vloggers. They kind of just fall into this like, mold of they know what works and then it's very repetitive. So your top 10 lists of where to go, or let's go look at a condo and tell you the price of it.
Oh, no, absolutely. And look, and what they do is great, fair play to them. And some of them, I don't know how they get so many views. And I've been looking at it thinking, it's just a guy walking through a condo and he's got like a, 20, 30, 40, 100,000 views on what? It's shit. But it seems to work. So fair play to him. And, we put so much effort into our videos. And sometimes we put too much effort in, for like maybe 400, 500 views. But the key thing for us is we don't look at the views and we don't worry so much, because what we're looking at is the bookings. Now, bear in mind, the content we're doing for 5 Star Marine is to drive people to book a tour of us.
So is the call to action driving the content?
That's what's...
Or the content's kind of just,
a bit of
let's
both.
Go with it?
It's a bit of both. For the, we'll go out and we'll do a video showing pee-pee. I mean, we know what works. We know people are searching pee-pee. They're searching Maya Bay. They're searching James Bond Island. They're searching Phang Nga Bay. So we know those search terms are going to work. But like I said, we're not trying to get thousands and millions of views. What we're trying to get is good content that people like, which then they engage with, and then they do something. And if they're booking tours through our video content, then that's great. If we're only got 200 views, but out of those 200 views, 3 or 4 people have booked a tour.
If you have 10 views in the one person,
exactly, that's all we want. Yeah. I love what the vloggers are doing. I get contacted all the time by the vloggers who want them to go on a free trip with 5 Star Marine, and it happens all the time.
They're hitting you up.
Oh, well, Sean gives them my number because he loves it. So Sean will say, here's Jay's number, contact Jay. He's our content guy. I'm like, cheers, Sean. But then they give me their media pack. And the great thing about my background is marketing as well. So I can look at their media pack and actually analyze it and think, oh, come on, guys, this is ridiculous. Just because you've got 100,000 people on Instagram, you're going to give us one reel, one story, and one picture. That does jack shit for us.
Is there like a recipe to, let's say, a Thai vlogger, and you're able to analyze like subs, average views, whatever, to be able to put a price on them?
Not so much a price, but we look at we know what works for us. So we know what content works for us. And I'll be honest with you, Instagram doesn't work for us. No. It really doesn't. It never will. And I don't think
it's just my opinion of Instagram, TikTok, and all that. It's just retargeting, reminder, brand awareness. No. I don't think you really convert through it. Like, you're never going to make a decision through Instagram.
No, absolutely.
But when you come to the YouTube channel, because now you're watching it for 10, 12 minutes, you then might go make that conversion.
Completely. And what we also get from the guests, when I'm on the pier at 5 Star in the morning, guests will come, we've been watching your videos. So after they've booked, they'll then go and watch the videos as well to see what they're getting. And it's interesting because they'll come, hey, you're Jay, you're Sean. Oh, great. We know you guys. They feel like they know us. And for our customers, for 5 Star Marine customers to come there knowing us already, they become part of the family straight away. And that's what we have at 5 Star. I'm going into corporate mode now. That's what we have at 5 Star, is a family. The team are a family. I'm part of the family, although I think I'm second cousin twice removed. But I'm still part of the family. And when the guests come on holiday, we want them to be part of the family as well. And they already feel it when they watched our videos. So Instagram will never work for us. TikTok, I do understand TikTok. It's not my demographic. It wouldn't work for us because people aren't going to book it. We know who's booking our holidays. We know who's booking our tours. So I think the key thing is for us is to, when people contact us vloggers, we look at what they're doing. Are they the right people? Are they of the right age group that people are going to watch? Or are they just a hot chick and a hot guy? And don't get me wrong, I think that's brilliant. And you hot chicks and you hot guys look great on Maya Bay in your bikinis and your six packs. Brilliant. Our guests don't want to see that.
Yeah, it's not going to convert. I mean, there's a reason why these girls are, showing their ass on Instagram, have 8 million followers, but do they have any conversions on monetization?
None at all. Probably. But look, don't get me wrong. They might be. I mean, I know years ago, some of the Instagram girls were selling makeups and selling bikinis, doing really well. And they did very well for themselves. That's fantastic. And I've got utmost respect for them. But then everyone during COVID became an Instagrammer. Everyone became a vlogger. I've given up work now. I'm going to vlog around the world. I'll go and buy 1,000 million subscribers.
That's how it all blew up. Like, so Chris Parker he's going to grab a camera for me on Sunday. But during COVID, he started up doing push-ups in his house or something like this, and now he's probably number 2 or 3.
He's amazing.
Number 2 or 3 in all of Thailand.
But look at that. I mean, a lot of times all he's got is a phone. He walks around with a phone. And he frustrates me a little bit though, and Sean knows this, because I put so much effort. I mean, I'll be out getting costumes and planning everything and doing all this over producing everything for what? But I enjoy it, and I enjoy kind of over producing. Whereas Chris Parker is walking around the street, do this, 1 million views.
I think his post-production, because he used to do post-production for Game of Thrones. Do you know that? Or?
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, okay.
He owned his own media company and sold it. That's why he's retired here.
Damn you, Chris Parker, for being so good.
The reason I was kind of, not just because he's Canadian, was his editing and post-production is phenomenal. But that comes from his background. And you can go watch other vloggers. He's so dialed into that world. That's why I think he succeeded. It was purely on his editing.
He's a good guy. I mean, I've never officially met him, but obviously his name comes up a lot because Sean works with him quite closely. And the great thing is he delivers some really good content, which is very different from what I and Sean deliver. I mean, listen, for what I do, it's purely marketainment. It's comedy, it's entertainment, bad comedy probably, but that's what we do. Mm-hmm. That's what we do.
Do you have any irons on the fire for like content that, it's like a passion project or something, like you want to produce something that you haven't revealed to the world, and it's something you'd like to take on, you just don't have the time?
Come to my house, not sexually, but you are a good looking guy. Come to my house, open my wardrobe. I must have about 4 or 5 different outfits that are lined up ready for content that I haven't done yet.
Are you able to share with it, or?
Sure, I had a
like your idea. Like, would it be a YouTube piece?
A lot of it. I was going to go short form comedy. So I was going to. I love comedy, completely love comedy. But I was going to do a little sketch show. But it was a very quick 30-second sketch show. So I'd have different characters, would just do quick 30 seconds. So it'll be maybe a 2-minute video, but it's 4 different characters. I had a Russian, this is probably very politically incorrect now, the Russian stand-up comedian called Victor. He was a Russian stand-up comedian that was just so dry and just would never laugh, but he would just deliver his joke. And I did a pilot episode, and it was hilarious. But then obviously with the whole war thing, I'm not sure if I can bring it back. Russell thinks I should. But I'm just a little bit nervous to bring back Victor the Russian as a comedy character. Might not be the best thing right now. These would
kind of be just like quick 30-second sketches?
It's 30-second sketches, yeah. Then I've got I've got a vegan. Well, no, it's not a vegan. I've got a children's entertainer character that is teaching kids about being healthy and vegan, but actually has this deep, horrible psycho problem where he wants to eat meat all the time. So the idea he would be dressed up in his rainbow outfit, all bright colours, and be doing, kids, this is little piggy, he's lovely. And then all of a sudden it will just kind of flash with dark kind of imagery, and then all of a sudden it will end up with me dressed as in some sort of outfit, eating raw meat in a basement or something. And that was another character that I came up with. I'm seeing your face isn't laughing that much, so maybe I'll get rid of that one. He wasn't very good.
I'm thinking on that side, like how you're producing it as well. Like, are you talking to the camera, or it's kind of the fourth wall? Like, you're imagining the audience is
all talking to the camera. So it'll be. I mean, I've got the green screen at home. I've got all the lights at home. Once again, I just haven't had time to set up this beautiful studio like this. This is what I need.
We slapped this together.
I can tell.
It was way too expensive. Actually, everything's not too bad. It was just, I think the cameras were a bit like that, kind of killed us. My landlord helped out with a lot of the furniture, so she did all the curtains when we were setting it up. She came in. We slapped it together.
Nice bamboo curtain. Once you open it, you never go back.
Well, we'll go off topic, and I mean, I guess this is kind of like a Quentin Tarantino film podcast where we'll jump back to other topics. But living as a dad in Phuket, people, again, don't understand that it is quite difficult because there isn't that support. So a lot of people that are planning to move here, I don't think they realize the cost of international schools. And okay, as a single, like, I'm sure I'm a father somewhere out there, but as a single guy, well, I have my girlfriend. Sorry, cut that.
No, don't cut that.
And we're back.
So you're just saying you were a single guy, yeah?
No, I'm almost married, yeah. But for me, it's fine. The cost is nothing, I mean, except for last night's bar bill. But as a single father or just a parent in general, like, if you're coming to Thailand, you have to put your kids in international school. People, do they not understand that? Do you connect to people back home that say, hey, I love what you're doing, I'd love to come out there? You know, old friends, and you go, wait a second. You got to understand what it costs to actually live here.
I never tell people that. The only reason being I've never been asked, if I was being very honest with you. I think there are options for schooling. You can go to a Thai school, and obviously it's free. Or I still think you have to pay a little bit. You go to the English program school, which is the Thai curriculum but taught in English, but that only goes up to a certain age group, or you go to the international school. For me, it had to be international, because if I do move around and do move wherever it may be, they need to move schools, so you needed the international education. It is super expensive. It's crazy. And the problem that is I then, from what I'm paying, expect private school education. And I think the issue I'm getting is I'm not getting what I think is private school education. What I'm getting is just normal kind of education, which isn't bad, but I think sometimes what I'm paying for and what my expectations are, you know, and what we're getting doesn't really meet up. Yeah. So yeah, it is expensive. Uniforms expensive, but listen, it is what it is. What can you do? You either don't go to an international school. I think Phuket's expensive. If you want to have, I mean, look, Thailand, everyone says, oh, Thailand's so cheap. It's so, yeah, it can be cheap if you want to live a chicken and sticky rice. And if you're a single person or you're a young couple that don't have any other responsibilities and you want to get on a motorbike every day, then you can live for cheap here. Mm-hmm. And it'll be a great life. I wish 30 years ago I'd come to Asia. You know, I could have had a great life. It's not as cheap. If you want to have, you know, if you want to go to Villa Market, other shops are available, of course, and you want to buy normal food at Villa Market, it's expensive. But I'll go to Tesco's, go to wherever, super cheap. Yeah, okay, but sometimes you want good quality food.
After a couple of weeks, you need to kind of...
You know, and I get my meats from Macro, and it is relatively cheap, and you have to shop around. But it's not as cheap as what people think. It really is.
And healthcare as well. It's crazy.
Healthcare is nuts.
I had a motorbike accident.
I see a little scar in these.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks ago. I mean, I don't have healthcare here because now I've kind of passed the point of I'm afraid. It's kind of like I haven't had it so long that I feel that if I get it, something bad's going to happen.
But as a Canadian, surely do you have healthcare in Canada?
Canada, it's free. I lived in China for 7 years, and you don't need it there because it's dirt cheap. Like I had a little spill one night in China. I just kind of fell over, cut my arm open. It was like 50 baht. They stitched you up. Here, they go stitch you up at the hospital at Phuket. You're going to spend 10,000 baht.
No, it's a ridiculous amount. And I think the problem is I do think you get ripped off here in many ways, from the very bottom street carts right through to the very top big businesses. Everyone tries to make a buck out of you. They really do. But not
just against the Farangs, against the Thais.
No, it's not.
Well.
I wasn't it's against everybody.
Everyone. Like if you're Thai and you want to go to Phuket or Bangkok Hospital, you're still paying that pretty penny. Yeah.
You get ripped off.
Now we're going back. You said you might go back to the UK. Do you have like that 5-year plan where you're looking to, or is it kind of just, you know, what you're doing now, you're going to continue doing until a certain point in time?
I have no idea. I'm not very good at planning. I couldn't even plan today. I mean, right now I'm thinking about my afternoon. I've got to go and see Benny for a meeting down at one of the beach clubs.
Carpe Diem.
Yeah, go see Carpe Diem. Then I've got to go pick up the school or kids at school. Then am I going to go to the night market? That's as far as I'm thinking. Right now, I'm about to probably make a big decision with my own podcast, which I think I've already made a big decision just because I want to have more time to produce other stuff. But leaving Phuket right now, I don't know, I'm making good money. So, make hay while the sun shines.
It's hard to make those decisions in this high season as well.
But I did have a plan when my daughter was 11 and goes to senior school. I don't know what the difference is in different people from different countries, but when she goes to big school, that I was going to go back to the UK. She's already turned 11, so I'm not sure that's going to happen now.
It's not happening. You're saying you have a plan for your podcast. Could you elaborate on that?
No.
Oh. We'll save that for his own podcast.
No, not at all. I'll be honest with you. I think Russell and I spoke to Russell the other day, and I think for me, it's ready to come to an end. I think it's naturally after coming out. It'll be the 150 episode. I got one more coming out next week, which is 149. And I said to Russell at 150, I think we're going to call it.
Is it just because your bandwidth, you don't have time?
I think there's many reasons. I think that I always think things have a certain time span. I think that my audience with my podcast, very different, from what your audience may be. And I think I don't know. I just want to change it up a little bit. And I'm not bored with it, but maybe I am a little bit bored with it. And also just the whole, as we talked about earlier, finding guests and finding the right guests. And I think Russell's got really busy with his job, with his dog job. I've got busy with doing videos with Sean, doing my own stuff. I've got other clients that I'm really busy with. I've got my other projects I want to do. I just think it's time to whether it's going to be I don't think it'll be the end of. I think it just needs a break and then come back maybe doing once a month, but in a different format.
Yeah, you still have to have the passion. I mean, I've thought about stopping this podcast multiple times. Sometimes you just get burnt out, or you just have so many other things going on, and then the podcast becomes an obligation. And it loses that kind of the whole reason why you wanted to do it.
Listen, if something's not fun, why do it? Now, I would do something that's not fun for money and for work when I had to. Right now, I'm earning okay money. I still need more money. So if anyone out there wants to employ me, but I think there's other projects I want to work on as well. And I just need to push things to one side. And it's not as though my own podcast makes me $1 million a month. I have fun doing it, but there's so much other fun stuff I want to do as well.
If money wasn't, a requirement, is there something that you would, like your passion that you would be doing just for yourself?
I still am working on that right now. I think the idea of having audio Netflix for Thailand or Phuket was always a plan. So you'd have different shows doing different things with different people. So having a food-related podcast, having a marine-related one, whatever the big topics are, but having a Netflix style, so you could go on to the Shark 13 Productions homepage, and there's different podcasts with different things all around Phuket, all around tourism. And maybe that still happen. Like I said, I've got plans to do that still, but it's just having the time.
This audio background, you kind of touched light that you were also DJing as well. So understanding it for this audience is, where did that originate from? Like, what was the first day you kind of got, attached to the audio side? Not just for the marketing, but in general, like this world.
In this world. My love for audio came when I grew up as a kid, growing up in England, in Essex. I loved just listening to stories. The old style, and put a tape in and just listen to the tape, and you'd have a book with it and it would go ding and then you turn the page. I loved listening to radio, so I'd listen to radio, talk radio especially so. I remember phoning up my first radio station for a competition to name a rabbit. I think I named it Smarty, and I got really upset because the host then, after I finished on the phone, said, "Oh, that wasn't a very good name," and that really upset me. But I still remember that, and I must have been about, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12. I just loved audio. I loved radio. I really loved the spoken word. I loved the stories. I loved it all. And then from that passion, I then got into the entertainment side of things. And when I used to teach sailing around the world. So that was what I did for a job. And then doing events and entertainment in the evening. So I would be doing MC work or hosting quiz nights or whatever. And then the DJing just came from that, really. I'd go to the local bars and just pick up the fact that I'll just go and DJ. Or the MC. I MC'd at a club in Turkey. And the next day, these club guys all came to where I was working. They wanted me to full-time to MC at night. So I was like, well, why don't I just shout down a microphone all night long. Okay, fair enough. And then the DJing just came from that, really. I wasn't very good to start with. I was just picking music, but I was in the bar just saying, right, we'll play that song, that song, that song, that song.
So you at this point, you were traveling the world, teaching sailing?
I wasn't I would say traveling the world. I loved teaching water sports. I wanted to be, growing up, I also wanted to be in a boy band. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be a TV presenter. The closest thing to it, I went on a water sports holiday, and I remember the instructors, all the kids loved the instructors. You know, the girls loved them. The boys wanted to be them. And it was like they were in a boy band. And I looked at those guys and thought, I could do that. I'm good at sport. I can teach water sports and then get the fans of, and that's what I went and did. And it was brilliant. You used to, after you teach on the lake, you know, you'd run to wherever you were staying and you'd wait for the letters from the kids. Oh, we had a really great time. Thank you very much. And it was like being famous without the being famous. And it was fantastic. I loved it.
What drove you to Phuket? So everyone has their story of why they came here. What's yours?
I was in London. I'd just given up working overseas after doing 15 years teaching around the world. So I was teaching in Spain, Greece, Turkey, Antigua. And I'd given it all up because I thought it was time to get a real job. So I was living in London, working at a David Lloyd leisure centre, hating every minute of it. And then I got a phone call from a guy who I used to work with in Turkey and Greece, from one of the companies I used to work with, and just said, hey, Jay, do you fancy coming over to Thailand to sell property? And that was 2007 when the property market was brilliant. And I just split up with a girlfriend at the time, and I went, fuck it. I got nothing else to do. Let's go. Never been to Asia before, never even thought about coming to Asia. Didn't know anything about Asia. And within about a month, I was on the plane here selling property.
Straight to Phuket?
Straight to Phuket. Always in Phuket.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, once they get here, the majority of them don't really hop around. Maybe they go to Bangkok, but it's hard.
I couldn't go to a city. No, it was always Phuket. I love being by the water. Have to be by the water. Have to be on the beaches. So yeah, it just came to Phuket and started selling property, which was great for the first 2 years because the property market was amazing. You'd walk to work and people would just come in and want to buy a villa, you know, without doing anything. And then all of a sudden, 2009, credit crunch, bang, it all changed. It all changed. And that's when I got back into DJing and back into entertainment in Phuket because I needed to do something and I was bored and I had nothing to do. There was no property to sell. Well, there was property to sell, but the market was kind of crashed. So then I heard an advert on the local radio saying looking for radio hosts. And I thought, why not? Go and do that. Went down, met Byron. And within a week or two, I was hosting my own show on local radio.
Did you ever connect with Tim Newton?
Yeah. Bless Tim.
Yeah.
He's a lovely boy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Tim and I met on, so I did radio with Byron. Then I started, from radio, I then got into DJing at events. So then I've DJed at some really dodgy places just to learn the ropes of it. Old school, turn up in a bag of CDs, all my gear, go and rock up at some dodgy bar where you get paid fags and beer and food. Yeah. And that's what you play at. Oh, it was horrible, some of them. But learned from that, then got into wedding DJing where you earn a fortune from wedding DJing until all the other DJs came, then the prices dropped down. But I was getting paid 40 grand a night just for doing a wedding. I know, it was amazing. You do 4 weddings a month,
Yeah, it's easy.
Super cool. Until then, a load of other DJs turned up and then the prices dropped. But no, I DJed at the White Party. That was amazing doing the White Party down at Catch. That was fantastic. But I've totally forgot your question.
Sorry, your connection with Tim.
Oh, for Tim. So basically, I then worked for Byron on 91.5 for a little while. Then I went to the Phuket Live, which was 89.5 with Jason Beavan and that team. And that's where I met Tim. And Tim actually did a show. He did his Sunday show after I was doing, at that time, I was doing the weekend brunch.
So this is probably when Tim's just getting here.
Yeah. It was just when he first came here.
Probably pre-Tiger then.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it was pre-Tiger. So I met Tim there, and Tim and I had this, Tim and I in chalk and cheese, but it worked really well. So we'd have the crossover period where I would then hand over to his show, and he was very precise, and he's a great broadcaster, fantastic broadcaster. I'm just an idiot. And so you've got him being all kind of proper and stuff, and then me just being an idiot trying to wind him up and then walking in and out of the studio when he's on the air and stuff. And that's when I first met him. And then when he set up the Tiger, I think I'd finished at the radio then, and he then tapped me up and said, Jay, do you want to come and do on the Tiger with us? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I was the first live voice. I say live voice; it was pre-recorded, but I was the first voiced show on the Tiger when he started.
And this is
Tiger
way
Radio.
pre-YouTube. They didn't really blow.
No,
up
this
for
was before
years
YouTube.
later.
This was before the newspaper. This was before all the webs. This is years and years ago when the Tiger first started. It was a radio station, and that's how we first kicked it off. I can't remember what the show was called. Oh, it was a Fabulous. I think it was a Fabulous with Jay the Shark or something like that. I can't remember. It was brilliant.
But Tim, I mean, he essentially started this as well, like the Tiger. Like
the Tiger was Tim's
his,
to start with. I mean, I don't know the whole ins and outs of it. Oh, and I don't know what's happening now with what's gone on. But he was the first one with the Tiger. So I did that for about a year or so, and then once again, it just got to the fact where I wasn't getting paid for it. So I wanted to do other stuff.
Has Tim been on your show before?
No, we were going to try to. We tried to get him on. The problem was he was always in Bangkok during most of the time, but now he's back. I spoke to him because we was talking to him about doing a few other different things. I haven't had him on yet. You just bring him on the last episode, and that's when you end the podcast. Hey, Tim. This is Tim. Thanks very much.
That's the end of it. Yeah, I was on his show. He does a Saturday. It was a Saturday morning.
He does the TNT show. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a Saturday morning live show. It's funny. I crashed the Friday night. I hobbled in there on the Saturday morning. And I almost didn't go, but I'm like, you know what? The hospital's on the way. So I went there Saturday morning, and my girlfriend was like, what the fuck are you doing? But he's a great guy.
We've done a couple of projects together. Tim and I are very different. His style's very different from mine. I've full on respect for how he does stuff. I'm sure he does respect my stuff. But I did a couple. He hates the fact that I do it in my way. On some of the things. I mean, that's the thing with him, with his news stuff. He's great at what he does with news, whereas I look at it completely different.
But everybody has a character, and I think that's important. Otherwise, you're quite stale. Like in that, like you need to have your own character, which you do. Which I don't know if I do.
You're very chilled out.
I'm playing. Trying to get through this podcast, hungover guy.
You're doing very well, I have to say. I'm impressed.
I've
learned so much.
I've done about 10 podcasts, hungover, and it's. They're not actually. This is going good. You know what? It's helping without the headphones, because then you're not kind of stuck in there. So what was I saying?
I don't know.
Back to
you were saying how amazing I am. I think it was.
Let's throw a curveball, because I was going on the Tim side. Me hungover, crashing a bike, story of my life. Jay Leshark. Is this your real name, or is that the character's name?
It's a character's name, but I think the character is the real person. Once we'll go back to you're going to ask where the name comes from. I'm sure. So. Sharking back in the day, it was a term that we used if you were sharks go on the hunt, always hunting for food. So the word sharking was you was always hunting for ladies. So I was a terrible person, and I would always be on the hunt for ladies. Listen, I used to love going out chatting girls up. That was what we did. I'm an Essex boy. We used to go out to the clubs and just chat up girls. I mean, that's what it was all about. And I got the nickname Sharky. So Sharky stuck from when I was about 16 onwards. And then I think when I when I set up my first email account, this is how old I am. I was in Turkey.
Was this AOL.com?
No, this is a Hotmail. This is Hotmail. So it was a Hotmail. And I was with someone setting up, and they said, what are you going to call yourself? So it will be Jay, because that's what I was going by, Leshark. I don't know why I said Leshark. I had no idea. It just came to us, and it was just Jay Leshark, and Leshark just stuck forevermore.
The French, hey, my French is fluent, so I'm assuming.
Oui, c'est bon.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's the right French term for a shark anyway. But no, that's where it stemmed from, was just being always on the hunt for ladies, a bit of a character back in the day. I love it, and it is a character name completely. My character is, I mean, we'll go back to the wrestling thing. The J person is just turned up 10 notch. If I did something like this, I mean, I'm quite people won't believe this, but I really don't want to be out there that much. I quite like being at home. I'm not the greatest of persons. I don't have very many friends. I have a lot of people that I know, a lot of acquaintances. But like I said, I don't go out. I'm very happy in my own self. I'm very happy to be at home. I don't need this whole thing. This is a show. This is purely and utterly a fun show for me, doing this sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's kind of a popular, famous Japanese proverb where it's essentially like everyone has 3 faces or 3 masks. One you show to the world, one you show to your friends, and one you show to yourself. What is the face that you don't show to anyone?
Me. There's only a few people that will know who I really am.
And do you kind of, can you connect to that proverb as well? Because obviously Jay Leshark on the podcast, that's the one to the world. The one that you give to your friends, and as you're saying, maybe that circle's small, are only, again, a select people that see that one, and obviously the one to yourself. Maybe that's the only one you see at home. Do people connect to those, like, or do they have to get to you on like a very personal level? Sorry, this is not like a psychology meeting here or anything in that sense.
No, I've actually interviewed a couple of psychologists, and it's really interesting talking to them. Really interesting to them. There's only one or two people. No, I'd say there's probably one person that really, really knows me on the island. But I know a lot of people, and I'm friends with a lot of people. You know, don't get me wrong. This is not, oh, woe is me, woe is me. This is a character. It's a bit of fun, and it's a harmless bit of fun, and it's a harmless character, and it is quite funny. People that see me emceeing or just hear the Jay on the radio or see the Jay on the podcast or whatever. But even if you listen to my podcast, you'll see there is I bring in the real me into that, especially when we're talking mental health, and especially when we're touching on that, and especially when we're trying to get to know people and try to really get them to come out with their own issues. Then probably the real Jay will come out there. But listen, people see me on stage, people see me MC, and they take that Jay, me with my silly innuendos, my childish sense of humour, and that's what people think I am, you know, and that's fine. It's up to them. I couldn't care less anymore. I used to care what people think, and Russell will tell you that I still do, and I probably still do, but I try not to. But I try not to be nasty. I'm harmless. I try to just be, it's harmless fun.
Well, I think it's back home we can all be degenerate fuckheads if we want to, because you're back home, you're in your own country, it's quite safe. I find like living in Asia, there's a certain like, you know, boundary you don't want to cross, because you don't want to lose this place, or you don't want to fuck it up to, you know, the point where, you know, you see the movies or you see friends back home where they've done something and they gotta, maybe they're a prisoner in their own community. You can't do that in Phuket. Otherwise you have to fucking leave.
Yeah. I mean, look, all I'm trying to do is just enjoy myself when I'm creating content or when I'm doing stuff like this. And then my time at home is a time with the kids, you know, and I do that then. And what I do in the evening is what I do in the evening by myself and just chill out. Yeah,
but there's certain, even for me without kids, there's certain bandwidth. At the end of the night, after you eat dinner and maybe you watch a show, again, most people, you crash, you go to bed. You don't have time. For me personally, I don't have time to run around. It will happen maybe once a week.
Listen, it used to. When I first came here into my 30s, but that was party time. You know, we were earning good money because the property was selling. We was out every night. Surin Beach was amazing back then. Amazing. One of the greatest places on the world or in the world. I'm older now. A lot older. A lot older. Different responsibilities, you know. Life moves on. You know, and I think I'm still trying to grab that old school stuff, but I'm kind of got a balance between everything. I just feel sorry for my kids because they've got me as a father, which is, people say I'm a great dad, and I appreciate that, but my God, for them, they must think, what an idiot. I mean, I'm on the radio, all their friends hear me on the radio singing songs and being stupid and making inappropriate jokes and stuff, and that's their friends, and their friends' mums are seeing that, and my kids are going to school going, oh, shit.
Well, you're the voice of the Blue Tree Jingle. So
yeah.
I've heard that.
It's good, isn't it? Annoying, eh?
No, but I think it took me like the fourth time hearing it. I'm like, wait a minute.
That's me and the kids.
Yeah,
we did that in my bedroom.
How did you come up with that? And when you're, I guess, like more in depth on that question, I don't know how in depth we can get on it, but basically.
We can go deep, baby.
Let's go deep on this jingle.
I love it.
But do you get the creative like outlet? They kind of just say, hey, we need to do this, and you kind of just run with it, and they don't ask too many questions, or is there pushback?
There hasn't been much pushback. I did, on that particular advert, I did get some pushback from the owner and a few other people. And I tried to explain to the Blue Trees team what you need to do with that. So this whole advert came up with, they said to me, look, we need an advert for Blue Tree. And I was, for some reason, I can't remember if I was watching a football game, soccer, depending on where you're from, and I heard this chant. And I remember chanting it when I used to go and watch football back in the day. I thought, let's just see if I put that to Blue Tree, it might work. Got the kids to sing with me, and we came up to it. Let's all go to Blue Tree, la 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 la. And so the idea was, if anyone ever heard that, or they would start singing it, and I wanted everyone to sing it. I wanted to annoy the fuck out of people, and it did. And people still talk to me about it now. People come up to me in the streets, oh, you're that one that does that stupid la 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 advert. I'm like, yeah, brilliant, it's working. And to me, it works. The whole idea with that is I really wish Blue Tree had run with it further and actually made a whole campaign out of it. I've actually got stuff planned to do after that, and it should have had a whole 6 months, maybe a 12-month campaign that you follow on from that one, and you go to the next one, and then it should be a video, then it should be this, then it should be that. They didn't run with that, unfortunately. Maybe I should push that further, but
it's still on the radio.
Still on, yeah. So at the moment, that one still runs. I've done a couple of adverts which haven't gone down so well. They've pushed back on them. A lot of times when I didn't really want my voice on it. I was outsourcing voices, and then they said, "Oh no, we want your voice. We don't want to outsource voice." I'm like, okay, look, if that's what you want, and I can understand that from an audio brand point of view, then you hear my voice, you think Blue Tree, or especially so on the radio. So maybe it is right or wrong, but no, I love doing that. They kind of. We've got one at the moment, which is a puppet advert, which is really hard to. I mean, how do you advertise shadow puppets on radio? Yeah. It was difficult, but I kind of found a little way about that. Although the some of the jokes in there are so precise to certain people or from certain demographics, especially that one. Then we got a cricket advert. I mean, who knows about cricket? I mean, there's only a certain groups of people that know about cricket. So to write a cricket advert...
It's for Alan...
No, this is for a Blue Tree having a cricket competition. I think it's either this weekend or next weekend or whenever this comes out. I've dated that now. But that was, they give me free range. The Let's All Go one. So yeah, the owner came up to me and she said she hates it. She wants it off.
Was that Christine at the time?
I can't say who the owner is or the owner isn't. I'm under contract. But yeah, you were right.
She's the granddaughter of Patek Philippe.
I whatever you say, yes.
Yeah. Well, no, I've met her a few times.
She's amazing.
She has an interesting. I tried to get her on here, but I don't even think she's always coming in.
I don't think it's the right.
I try. Yeah. No, I've had a couple conversations with her. Very interesting lady.
She's brilliant.
She lived in Nepal.
Oh, she's got her story is fascinating.
Christine, come on.
It took me a bit of time. I've been with Blue Tree as a consultant for about maybe 4 or 5 years. It took us a good couple of years because we're very different characters. We come from very different backgrounds. An Essex boy who acts like a child to a very well-off, come from a very good family, lady. But we've bonded in a really strange way, in a really weird way. It's just taken time, but we both kind of respect each other and what each other does. And she loves the creative side of things that I have, and she's a very creative person herself. She hated that advert, though, and wanted it pulled off straight away, but only because she was at yoga with a couple of people, and an older couple, they hated it. They go, I hate this advert. It's so annoying. It's so horrible. Christine, you should take it off. You should tell them to take it off. And everyone's in her ear, and it's like, Christine, they're talking about it, which means it works. If they're talking about it, good or bad, they're talking about it. They're telling their friends they hate it. It's working. So leave it.
Yeah, even if it's annoying, you still will remember. It's kind of like George Costanza on Seinfeld by Menon.
Yeah.
Costanza. So he's saying that like, hey, by the third date, this is how they're saying your name. So the annoyance is actually beneficial.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to remember that and come back.
And people will remember that. And people remember me. With my current adverts, I love it when people come up and say, oh, we heard your cricket advert. Or a little kid from a school, I was at a school taking pictures, which sounds really dodgy, but not like that. I do social media content for them. But the kid came out, oh, I heard your cockroach advert. I said, what cockroach advert? She goes, oh, the one where you talk about cockroaches. I was like, you mean the cricket one? Yeah, that's the one, the cricket one. Oh, brilliant. But, she's engaging. She heard it. So for me, I think it's about being creative with adverts. You've got 30 seconds, 45 seconds to get that message over and get people to remember it.
Yeah, and every single word has to be, the importance of the vocabulary and the word and the timing, everything matters.
And also remember on radio, people are listening, however many people are listening, they're all from different countries, they're all from different backgrounds. Some might speak English, some might not speak English. Some might, a Canadian might understands a joke differently from an Indian or a Pakistani or an English guy or whatever. So you've got to be really kind of, I love it. I love that medium. I think it's brilliant.
Can't have those like cultural jokes that only apply to your
No,
country.
unless you're like me that puts them in every now and again just to make a few English people laugh. But it works. If you just make a couple of people laugh, then I'm happy with that.
But before we end this, we probably went over 1 hour. What are we at? Oh, 1:05, perfect. More of like
Thanks, Hans, for keeping the count of the number. He's doing well, isn't he?
Hans is half asleep.
Is he never on the TV?
Hans is more...
There's a massive clock behind you.
You know what's funny? We got the clock there, and every time I start, I forget to even look at it at the beginning. And even if I do, I don't remember the time.
On mine, this is such a beautiful studio. I have a computer, like I'm sat where Hans is doing the hosting and the computer, and I have a little a duck stop clock. You should get yourself a duck stop clock. What's all this stuff? Anyway, why are you playing chess?
I'm definitely not playing chess. I don't even know. When did that go in? Last week?
Is this product placement?
This is our mushroom products. They are out.
Can I just say it's empty? That's bullshit. Yeah. It's not even a real product.
Yeah, no. We're not putting real. It's all downstairs. We just launched, so I can't read that. It's all natural stuff.
Buy mushroom?
Mushrooms, yeah. This is energy.
They're fun, guys. That's a good joke for you there.
That's a good pun. There we got a good mushroom pun.
There's not much room on the table with all your products, eh? You can have that one. You take it to the thing, yeah. Right, anyway, go on. We're running over time.
Well, to kind of end it, and it's more like on I guess it's more a personal question from the podcast side as I stumble over my ending words. The great question. Let's clean that up. But do you have when you bring on a guest? Do you have like any set go-to questions? Are you doing like thorough prep, or do you kind of just wing it?
I wing it.
You wing it.
I wing it. I have done a couple of bits and pieces of prep, but for my podcast, I just want to. I want it to be raw. I hardly do. I don't edit very much. One, because I'm lazy, but two, I just want it to be so raw. I want it to be a conversation you're having with mates in the coffee shop. So when I send people the prep, I say, look, here are some of the questions we're going to ask. Not in any particular order, but the main question is, when did you get to Phuket? Why did you come here? And then we see what flows of it. And we do have a couple of set questions, but it depends who the person is and what business they're in. And it's the great thing for my podcast, you have Russell to bounce off of. And he is a smart, intelligent guy. A lot more than I am, and understands life a bit better. So he'll come up with different questions I come up with. I mean, I'm thinking of jokes and thinking about, that was funny, what I'm going to ask about that. And the same as you, go off on different tangents and different things. But yeah, we don't really have anything go to.
There's like these, you have the go-to question when that guest comes in and you've kind of planned it out.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, we had DJ Kimmy on, who's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Thai DJ. I had a couple of go-to questions, but only because I was a DJ and I knew what pissed me off as a DJ. Like people asking you to play a song but having no idea what the song was called, people singing the song to you, people putting their drinks on your DJ booth, people trying to talk to you when you're mid-mix. But that's only because I've done that. The only people I've really prepped for, I would say, would be the mental health ones. I had a life coach come in. I just didn't know. I'd never met him before and didn't know anything about him. So I did a little bit of prep. But I go on his website, have a quick look. Right, that's it. And a lot of it just flows.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the guest. Like for you, I didn't want to do prep because I know you've been here so long and I've been here that it's going to flow. But when you're sometimes you get people coming on the island that have only been here a week. You need to do a bit of prep because you don't have any connection there.
No, I agree. And I think for ours, we've done a couple where we've had no connection at all. But there is always a connection somewhere. And I think that the fact that I've been here 16 years, Russell I think has been here 17 years, there's going to be somewhere our lives have crossed somehow. I don't know how that paths are, but they might have crossed, or we might know their friend or their friend. There's only been a couple that we have nothing at all that we've in common or anything. But they're still interesting. They're still fun. Yeah,
and it's good to it's like, again, the conversation at the coffee shop. I always say, like, having a drink at the local bar. It's you meet someone there and that's the conversation.
Absolutely, and who knows what's going to come up. And I don't like, I remember when I was on the radio, and I know we're running over, so I'll be brief. It's okay. I used to plan questions as well, and the problem when you plan questions, guests come in. So when did you get here? I got here and it was nice. It was a great day. Okay, and then what happened after that? Well, that's not on my question list. I haven't prepared that question. And so that's why I don't want to prepare questions. And
they don't flow as well.
Yeah, just let it. I mean, on my radio show, I used to interview chefs, and it was like, okay, sometimes you just have to come up with the questions. But I used to hate the conversation. It was such a boring interview. It really was. It's like, what's your favorite dish to cook? What do you cook at home?
And then you're not really in the conversation because when they're talking, you're thinking of the next question. And then you're not like really engaging.
No, absolutely.
It's almost like a job interview.
Yeah, no, completely. And that's what it started to turn out to be. And the chefs were very much, and it's like, nah, just tell me something else. What do you hate cooking? What pisses you off? You know, have you ever thrown a knife at someone? Yeah. You know, they're not going to answer. Just get them in the conversation. Conversations, I think, are cool. I mean, more conversations are better. If people talk more, I think it'd be much better. For me, so many of my problems in my life have come through bad communication.
I think that's everyone as well.
And I think that the issue is, and also with social media, I think it's made it even worse. I'm going to have a bit of a rant about social media. I'm glad social media wasn't around when I was growing up, sounding old, but, you know, some of the shit that I did as a kid, my God. But I think even, you know, you would send WhatsApp messages or whatever. People take that in the wrong way, depending on how they're taking it. And I think just having a normal conversation and talking makes a big difference.
Yeah, there's a Key and Peele. So I like Key and Peele. It's a funny little sketch show. I don't know if you've seen those guys.
Never.
But they have like a funny sketch of a guy's texting his buddy, but the other buddy's like interpreting it as like they're about to fight. So it's kind of like the basis of it is like, hey, what you doing? You want to hang out? Sure, whatever. So he's just saying, sure, whatever. The guy's reading is like, sure, what?
Yeah, you're taking it in the wrong way.
Yeah, you take it out of context and especially for business. That's why I send a lot of voice notes and people hate it because I feel that like sometimes when you just write something short, Hans is like, fuck that guy. He's sending me 1 minute voice notes. But you don't want to lose that context of coming across the wrong way as well.
I agree, and I think it's a lot easier to send voice text. Yeah. Although I have to be very careful. I have a private WhatsApp chat with Russell and a couple of other people that stuff can't ever go out.
Yeah.
You got to be careful.
Yeah. Well, I think there's like, I don't know, I'm a big Curb Your Enthusiasm fan, like Larry David. I think there's a certain like, there's the WhatsApp, let's say, voice note like rule, like I'm a problem with it, but like don't send a 3-minute voice note. Don't send 10, 20-second ones. Like there has to be the cutoff rule of like
rules. You've got rules on your voice messages.
I think there's rules on them.
No,
yeah, no, I don't follow any of them. I don't follow any of them. I consciously think about it, and then it's already 1 minute. But it's at the same time, it's like, okay, maybe you want to keep them at 10, 20 seconds. Because again, I get ones that are 3 minutes. I'm like, fuck that guy. I'm getting the cliff notes on this thing, and you're just
I basically just send video messages to Russell, but then he would not open them in public just in case.
Right before we end it, you mentioned the point on social media, and I felt like you were going to go a bit deeper, and maybe it's more of a personal question now that I don't have kids. Do you monitor that? Do you restrict that as a parent? Like on your children with social media, like with phones and Instagram? I can't even relate to that.
My kids are a bit young, to be fair. My boy's 8, my daughter's 11. They're just getting into it now. I think my 11-year-old they mention TikTok all the time. Oh, that was a TikToker. I've seen that on TikTok. Yeah, I monitor it, but I also trust them. My boy watches a lot of YouTube. He watches gamers gaming on YouTube rather than gaming himself, which I find incredibly weird. Watching someone build Minecraft, I'm saying to him, why don't you build it? Why don't you do it yourself? Oh no, I want to watch him do it. Okay, weird. Just okay, fine, whatever. But I trust them, you know. And it's the same. My parents who are over here recently, they hate the fact that I swear in front of my kids. But I don't do it all the time. But I also trust them not to do it, and I teach them. Say, look, I said that then, and I said it for this reason. Don't say it in front of adults. Don't say it at school. You know, and I trust them doing watching videos. If you're watching something inappropriate, tell me you're watching it inappropriate. Or if I see you watching it, don't watch that.
Yeah, it's the real world. I mean, you can't control everything.
I can't control everything in their lives. I just have to give them the ground, which is worrying that I'm giving them a grounding. But I have to give them the ground of saying, look, it is what it is. When I grew up, we used to run into the woods and we used to find porno magazines in the woods. I mean, how porno magazines got into woods, I don't know. Well, I kind of do know, but it wasn't me, by the way. I didn't do it. But, you know, my parents didn't stop me from going to the park or going to the woods because there were porno magazines in there. I think you just have to, I mean, look, every parent's different and I respect every parent. My God, my kids went on a camp and 3 parents complained because they didn't want to go on the longtail boat because they said it was too noisy and their kids would hurt their ears. And they didn't want to go kayaking because the tide was too high. And there's these precious parents in the world. Fine. I've got no issues with that at all. Just keep it to yourself. I do what I do with my kids. You know, we will go walking with no shoes on in the mud and we don't brush our hair. We're a bit crazy and stuff. Then there's princesses all dressed up nice. That's fine. Everyone's different. You know,
yeah, well, it's the real world as well.
It's the real world. I just have respect for my kids. They're my best friends. They are my best friends, so I treat them like my best friends. Sometimes they piss me off, Sometimes I piss them off, but I trust them. With social media, yeah, it's going to change a little bit. I think my daughter's getting close to that age now where, puberty is going to start to come in, and then maybe there might need to be more control. But right now, just teach them to be smart.
I see some of the parents out there doing it. It's more a personal question. I'm wondering, because we didn't have that growing up. I mean, we're
not at all.
Probably close to the same age, but
I'm a lot older. You're a lot younger than me.
Oh, we didn't really have.
Although
that.
I look younger, I just have to say.
Yeah, you look
only because today you look rough as a fucking badger's ass. To be fair.
Yeah, I went downstairs to eat. It took 30 minutes. Surumbayin, what the fuck was going on? And I'm like, all right,
Surumbayin.
Oh, they got a great English breakfast, but then I called Hans. I'm like, bring me a San Miguel. He fucked that up. So, anyways, we powered through that.
Don't blame Hans.
On that note, we're gonna end this podcast. I look horrendous.
You look really white, actually.
Yeah, that's the lighting. I'll kick it back to you. This is your camera here. If you could let everyone know, like
camera number 2,
camera 3. Oh, sorry, now 2. Just how people can find you. Especially if if people want to reach out to you for any potential work, we'll put links in the description. But what is the best way they can reach you?
Do you know what? I love the fact you point down when you say that as well, because Russell tells me off. We put links in the description. Yeah. We do an audio podcast, and I'm pointing down. No one ever sees it. Listen, you Jay Leshark. Just search Jay Leshark on Google, and you'll find it. I mean, that's the easiest thing. jayleshark@gmail.com. Jay at Shark13 Productions. If you want 5-Star Marine, it's Jay at 5starmarinephuket.com. Jay Leshark, just search that on the old Google box. Happy days.
Perfect.
It's the easiest thing.
Links in the description. And buy our supplements.
Buy
because
mushrooms.
Apparently international school is expensive, so I need to start making some money here.
Yeah, buy more mushroom stuff. Is it good stuff? I don't know. What does it do?
Yeah,
does it make me happy?
It's all immune system stuff, brain health, and cordyceps and blah, blah, blah.
Does it deal with hangovers?
So it's not that good. It's not. There's no cure for that. I'm going to the Twin Palms school.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks so much for it. Went well. I powered through.
It went
Hans.
amazing.
How did I do, Hans? It's all right.
Thumbs up from Hans.
Yeah, Hans is high. He's always smoking weed on my podcast.
Don't smoke weed. It's bad for you.
I'm joking. All right, we're out. Thanks a lot, guys. Subscribe. Do all that fun stuff.